Assalamualaikum everyone. Today, I want to invite you to sit for a moment, perhaps with a cup of tea or coffee, because I have a fairly long story to share. As the title suggests my dream, I want to tell you about a dream that I have always kept closely in my heart. All this time, people might know me as someone who struggles with the world of technology and computers. But honestly, behind all that, there is another world full of colors, fabric textures, and dress cues. I want to tell you how that dream was born, how it was briefly delayed by circumstance, and how I tried to keep it alive in the midst of very different reality. My dream is to become a fashion designer. And if you ask where that inspiration came from, the answer is very simple. My mother. Since I was a child, the most beautiful sight for me was not a playground or a movie on television, but the figure of my mother sitting quietly in front of her sewing machine in the corner of the room. I was often transfixed watching her work for hours. My mother's figure was so nimble holding scissors and joining fabric that were originally just plain rose, then slowly turning them into a very beautiful dress. I always felt that my mother had magical powers. She could create anything she wanted just from her imagination. Being able to produce your own clothes, in my opinion, very cool. Besides being able to save money, there is tremendous sense of pride when we wear something that no one else has. I also think that sewing is not just any skill. In my opinion, almost everyone can learn to cook quickly, but sewing, it requires extraordinary patience, precision, down to the smallest millimeters, and a strong artistic instinct. That admiration is what made me determined. One day, I want to be like my mother. I want to be a designer. Time passed until it was time for me to graduate from junior high school. I remember so clearly how excited I was looking for information about vocational schools majoring in fashion design. However, this is where I made my first test. The only good fashion design school was located in Esmar. The distance was very far from my house. I had to wake up at 4 a.m. and leave at 5 a.m. so as not to miss the Transmarang bus. My father and mother began to look anxious. Moreover, the Esmarang area is very often full. They were not appeased imagining me having to go home in the evening or at night through traffic jams and fathers alone. On the other hand, there was a safer option, which was a mechanic degree candle majoring in software engineering or RPF. The school was very close. I could ride motorcycle and my parents wouldn't have to worry every day. At the time, I was very confused. I went fashion design, but I could bear to see my mother's world face. Finally, for the sake of devotion and their peace of mind, I chose software engineering. I let go of my dream at the time to ensure my parents could sleep solidly without worrying about my safety on the road. Honestly, going to school in a major that you are not interested in is hard. I had to study algorithms and coding even though my mind was always drifting, imagining clothing designs. Even though my journey continues to a major information technology, it feels further and further away from my original dream. Even though right now I cannot say it all technically, I haven't stopped learning. I still like to sit next to my mother, asking about types of thread and drawing sketches in my spare time. I am trying to make peace with the situation. Maybe with this IT knowledge, later I can become a great designer in the digital world, build my own e-commerce, or create new fashion innovations. My dream might be far for a while, but the thread of the dream hasn't broken. For those of you who also have to take a path you don't like for the sake of your parents, believe me, your sacrifice will not be in vain. You are a great person. Do not give up on your dream, because every bit of knowledge must have its benefits. Thank you for listening to my story. Keep up the spirit in pursuing your dreams.